Welcome back to the Center Ring Esports Podcast presented by Alt. This is episode 283, and this is going to be the best episode ever because we have International Counter-Strike back, ladies and gentlemen. We will touch on the Blast Premier Fall 2020 regular season that kicks off tomorrow at the time of this recording. Also, a little bit of other CS going-ons to get to. Looks like Nico might finally be joining G2 as the rumors started what feels like months ago. So we'll talk some of that. Of course, we have Yikes of the Week, which is everyone's favorite segment. We have some audio to get to and play for you on that. And a packed e-news to finish the show. But before we do that, let me tell you about the show sponsor in Alt Esports. That's ULT for those concerned. You need to know who they are. They are the _1 apparel brand in all of esports. Not only are they official partners of the Overwatch League and Call of Duty League, they're also official partners with the #1 esports podcast. And yes, you guessed it. That's us. You can go there, check out the collab section, pick yourself up a 101 Burglars hoodie, which is our very own line with them. More to come on that as well. Every Friday, they do a live stream on their Instagram and soon to be Twitter and Facebook, I think. And if you join them, you will find fat discounts, like a 40% off type discount. You can get that. You would have been able to have a chance to get their very limited edition. Nate showed it off. It's nuts. It's got like crystals and stuff on it. Insane. You would have had a chance to get that. Also, their new line Reset is coming out soon. Be sure, altesports.com, check them out, and tell them the TCR boy sent you.
Hello, this is Machine. You're listening to TCR.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello and welcome. Welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring, a.k.a. TCR, a.k.a. your favorite esports podcast presented by Alt. Yes, this is episode 283, and it is coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date is October 25th, 2020. The time, 8:56 p.m. Go follow us on Twitter if you're not doing so already, at The Center Ring. And join our Discord. The link is in the description there, and you can find it. Be a part of that conversation. My name is Tim. I will be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, my best friend, my brown friend, my friend that I swear to God never has the same webcam position every week. It's Anuj. What's up?
You know, it's not pinned down to anything. It just kind of free floats on top of my monitor. So when I flip the switch over so no one can watch me, it moves just a little bit. Just a little bit. And I noticed it too. I feel shorter looking at myself today.
That's what it is. Like, the framing is not different. It's
I can
you.
do this. I can do this. How's that?
That looks normal.
Looks better?
I think.
You know what, Tim? These Sunday shows are becoming harder and harder with these effing Cowboys, dude.
They do suck.
They're terrible. Now you, my friend, had a glorious Sunday. I did not see that coming. I thought it was over with 1 minute left.
Well, so I never had a doubt because you had the Lions and the Falcons. One team, the Lions, are kings of the fourth quarter comeback with Matthew Stafford. And then on the other hand, you have the Falcons, who are kings of blowing a fourth quarter.
That's true. That's
so something had to give. Like, the universe was not going to be right, and then all of a sudden, finally, it panned out.
Like, do you think God was sitting there in that situation? Was like, oh God, what do I do? Who do I ask? I am the guy. Like, what kind of decision do I make here?
Like I said, I'm not going to complain. It's It's been a while since the Lions have had a fourth quarter, but I will take it. I'll take it.
We had a quarterback playing from James Madison.
And now you're about to have a third string quarterback in.
Yeah, that's who it was. The guy from James Madison. Like,
Do you not even know his name?
no, DiNucci? Ben DiNucci?
Beats the hell out of me.
Never heard of him until today.
I was honestly watching the game and look, and we do this in esports too. There are sometimes you want to say you're like the number one fan and you just love all sports and you won't ever change the channel. And I try to keep telling myself that there was a time this year where I didn't know if we would ever watch real sports again. So I try to soak it all up. But football has the power of making you just want to give up on life.
It really does. Really, really
Like
does.
the feeling that I've had for Cloud9 CSGO for the last year and a half, 2 years, I feel that way every Sunday during football season. Like it in one day, in one 3-hour block on a Sunday watching the Lions and or Cowboys, I like get all the feelings that I've had for the last 2 years for Cloud9.
Well, as a Cowboys fan and, a Nip fan, you could say, it's kind of rooting for the same thing, right? Like the glory days. One I'm rooting for from 30 years ago, the other one from 5 years ago. None seem to be panning out, unfortunately.
No, it's been rough. It's been a rough go for your Cowboys. So
Thank God for Red Zone. That's the saving grace on Sundays. When all else fails, turn Red Zone on and you're guaranteed to see some good stuff
makes you at
happen.
least feel like, yeah, it feels like, oh, okay, this is somewhat exciting.
Yeah.
Somewhat exciting. Man, what an exciting week, though. We had some yikes of the week, so let's get to that. Let's start with one that. So we always have our notes up, and then Anuj deleted some yikes of the week, and I was like, oh, I think those were supposed to be for this week. And he's like, no, we talked about that. And I was like, no, we didn't. It just, the weeks feel so long when it's like when something happens on like the day after recording. So this actually happened last Tuesday, but so much has happened since then, and so much yikes have happened since then. This needs to be addressed. And let me actually say this. I just reminded myself. Some show news, some fall cleaning, if you will, we need to get to. Ask Us Anything this Thursday. So get your questions in by Wednesday, I'd say around 9 p.m. Eastern time, so we can get those. Ask Us Anything, esports, life, whatever. Just ask us anything. Get it? And we will answer them on the show if I know how to read a calendar, last Thursday of every month will be our Ask Us Anything segment. So we already have a handful of good questions to get to on that. So if you haven't gotten yours in, hit us up in Discord, private message us, DM us. If you want to be anonymous in it, make a burner account, send us that, ask us not to say your name, whatever. But that is Thursday for you. Friendly reminder. Other reminder is, as the seasons change, it means one thing only, and that is that it is award season, Anuj. And so it is time for the #1 esports award show to yet again happen. And no, I'm not talking about the esports award show. I'm talking about the Center Ring Esports Award Show, the Timmies. So we are gearing up for that. Anuj and I are kind of starting to work on it behind the scenes. If you have, for those new, this is our yearly award show. We did it last year for the first time. It was a hit. Anything, if you have a category and nominees, you give us it, and we'll do it. Obviously,
Simple as that.
It's pretty. We're not, if you're fans of the show, we don't have to be too serious. Some categories that we already have, the worst org of the year, should probably be in more trouble, but surprisingly doing okay category. So if you have nominees for someone that you think should in esports that should probably be in more trouble, but surprisingly doing okay.
Obviously, like Yikes of the Year.
Yikes of the year, of course. If you have a yikes of the year, whether we did it on the show or not, if you have a yikes that, from a scene or a game that we might have missed, hit us up because we will take all the nominees that we can get And so that's probably looking up, normally it's around Christmas time when we do that before we take our little holiday break as family comes into town and whatnot. So I just wanted to remind people that if you have any good nominees or categories, to hit us up and ask us anything next episode. Okay, so then let's get into Yikes of the Week, because I think we might have a Yikes of the Year in it.
That's what I was just gonna say. The reason this needs to come up is because it has star potential in the Timmies this year. Like, I really think it could make a name for itself.
So this happened on Tuesday. It feels like such old news in esports world, but if you are a fan of Twitter and you're on Twitter, you might have seen it was really only for like maybe 4 hours that you could have seen all this unfold. But a Twitter by the name of @NoRegCSGO was all of a sudden, from the looks of it, Anuj, it looks like a normal org. Oh, they have matches. Oh, they even announced that they were coming back to CSGO after years of absence. Looks legit. They're associated with, people from Astralis, things like that. Wow, this looks legit. Score updates as if their guys were playing in a real match.
Versus a real team.
And this is where it all comes crumbling down, because when the real team sees it, when the real team you're playing against sees that and says, hold up, we're not playing a match right now. Are you guys making up fake matches for your org? And sure enough, this no-reg CSGO team was making up matches like just out of the blue. Just, oh man, we're in this random tournament against these random pro teams. And then furthermore, their logo was a straight ripoff from another team, just with an added like star on it. So that team contacted them, and you just get further and further down the rabbit hole that they were associated with the names Busby from Astralis, one of their bench players. So it's like, what is going on here? Like, they're associating themselves with real names. Busby is saying, I have no idea what's going on. I have never heard of any of these guys. The players for the org are saying like, hey, we didn't know this was a fake org. We were playing matches though. Like, we were told that we were playing Astralis next week. We were told that we were playing against these teams. And yet they were like, we had no idea this was all fake. Now, even the players' accounts seem fake, though, if you look at, like, this all seems like a mastermind plan from, like, one dude who just had a bunch of burner accounts. Like,
nobody is getting a pass in the situation, player or anyone from the quote-unquote org, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they were, the match that showed up on Twitter that started catching people's eyes is they were saying they were playing, like, Team Endpoint at the time. And I think Endpoint had even commented back like that. We're not playing y'all at the moment. Like, our guys aren't playing right now. What live updates are you giving on their head-to-head match against you guys? And then obviously, like, they had all these fake sponsors on their banner, and then they had Bubsky again that Tim mentioned from Astralis, and he was like, "Wait, I have no affiliation with these guys. I don't know why I'm on their header." Like, he's on their Twitter header, a picture of him.
And listen. Even the best part is they randomly had an announcement, which I think is what caught everyone kind of, maybe some people for the first thing, is they did an official announcement with a nice Photoshop thing. We tweeted it out on our Twitter to make fun of it, about one of the players' dads dying from COVID. Now, I'm gonna, before I step into this bear trap, if this player is real and the dad is real and he really died from COVID, stay hard. Our condolences from the center ring. However, with all the light that's been shed on this, Anuj, I highly doubt, or at least having a hard time believing, that this person's dad really died from COVID.
like they're putting us in a tough spot
It
here. Is
really
what they're
like
doing.
I'm
Like
in a pickle.
because obviously if this is fake, like holy shit, dude, like how far are you willing to go
Right.
to get attention? Like that is terrible. Like the fact that we've had 220,000 Americans die, from this disease or pandemic, whatever, it's just to
And
have
now
a
we're gonna
fake
throw in.
announcement. First of all, the image they used was pretty rough, right? Because it looked like almost a player signing
Yeah.
announcement
Yeah.
kind of thing. But yeah, if it really happened, obviously condolences. That's terribly shitty. I hate that these guys put you in that situation to where your name and all that's getting out there with any association to them. If the players didn't know, but gosh, like these guys,
If the players
what
are
a
even real.
stretch to like think you're not going to get caught.
But this
You
is
know,
what I
like
don't get. This is what I don't understand, right? Is the fact that the first off that you're not like going up against fake teams that are like in the Mountain Dew League or something like that. You're
like it could have been like high level CS, but not pro, and it probably would have
like
been.
you're selling yourself as a brand new org, but all of a sudden being able to play against teams like Astralis and Endpoint, and I think they had like the players are like, we were supposed to play Astralis and Furia or some like shit like that. Like first off, even if the players are real in this scenario, what type of mastermind setup did they get them to believe that they like that means the org had to create fake accounts or with other people because they were like, oh, we were even playing them and they had the major pin in their profile, which you only get if you've competed in the major, which yes, you can fake it, I've read, but it's like they had to go through so much trouble to fake this all. I mean, almost
What
to an
was the end
impressive
game
level.
here, Tim?
That's what I don't understand is if this was it, like, because now their Twitter's gone. They've deleted everything. I don't think anyone knows who's behind this. Like, it's just gone. Like, this random ass fake org is gone. I
Just
don't.
as quick as they came,
To
they've
me,
left
if
the
I'm
building.
going through all this trouble to committing, I'm going along with the bit. I'm riding that ship down to the bottom of the ocean.
Like what you do is you now turn it into a streaming platform.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and that's
Right?
where Brime?
Brime, yeah.
Is that the name of it? That is now Brime.
Like that's maybe that was the end goal all along. Is
I don't
right,
understand. Like,
yeah, it makes no sense.
it makes.
I mean, obvious yikes because it's just
I have so many questions.
you went through hoops to make this as legit as possible, knowing that you're gonna crash and burn. Like it's like starting a project you're 100% going to
It
fail.
would
Like I
have
just don't
taken
understand.
less effort to start a real org and compete than what they did by trying to fake an org. And you know what?
He had a better chance of picking up players and getting a pro team to pug him than what he went through just now.
For those who don't know, the center ring is just a 2-man operation. It's just a Nuge and myself. These guys had better graphics design than we did.
They did.
Like,
I was
I'm
impressed.
going to give credit where credit is due.
Like no reg guy, if you are out there and presumably looking for a job at this point, hit us up. We might have some work for you.
I like your creativity. I like your spunk. And
Like your go-getter attitude kind of really stands out for me.
yeah.
And the ability to believe, like you believed. And so
I need someone to believe in TCR the way this guy believed in his fake org.
yeah,
Because
100%.
that's the guy I want on my staff. A ride or die type of player. That's who I want. So incredible. That will definitely be a nomination in the Timmys for sure. Anuj, let's get with one of your yikes.
Man, this one was too easy. The gods give it this morning. Early in the morning, I opened up Twitter and I see all these retweets coming out from like Tribe Gaming. And I'm like, Tribe Gaming, Call of Duty, like who are they? And I realized, oh, this is coming from the Call of Duty Mobile World Championships is going on right now, Tim, which I'm highly disappointed we're not covering. So let's make that a priority next year.
Oh, I was up. I was awake. I was glued to it.
Tuned in?
Yeah.
Good. Hopefully they're all playing on the new iPhone 12 Pros and all that, So, but yeah, they had their World Championships going on. We have some live audio. Now, I want to throw this out there because I used to, and I say used to as of this morning, I used to believe that traditional COD, console COD, had some of the craziest comms I've ever heard. Like I listened to it and I'm like, holy shit, how do they understand what each other are saying? How are they hearing these call outs? Well, now I went back and listened to some old COD tapes and I'm like, oh yeah, I went through hours and hours of film this morning to hear comms. And I was like, wow, I can understand every word after listening to just 1 minute of Call of Duty Mobile game comms. And we have some live audio from Tribe Gaming. This is kind of the clip that went viral, and I want to give you all just a minute here. Just soak it in and tell me. Let's all come back together and let's discuss what they just talked about. So to me, I thought I was listening to Brazilian CSGO fans talk to Chaos Gaming. That's what it sounded like. It looked like Twitch chat, Brazilian Twitch chat, yelling at somebody on Chaos Gaming. I have no freaking clue what just happened there. No idea what just happened there.
Look, give them benefit of the doubt, okay? The comms are completely different in like a respawn game type, right? Like there's a lot going on. People are coming from every direction. Hard points are switching. You got a lot of information you got to get out. But my God. And you know what's funny is this is always like other like EU makes fun of, and same thing with like Koreans, right? They'll make fun of NA callouts because the way we communicate while playing, like that right there summarizes how NA does callouts. Where if you listen to, supposedly, if you listen to like an EU team, it's very calm, cool. They kind of have their one guy that they listen to, and then the rest just say one word information to feed it in. Where NA are like, like they'll
like
say,
a hardcore auction.
Right, exactly.
What's going on right now.
Same thing like in Overwatch at the start. It was always funny because you monkey, right? Like when Winston would jump in at the dive meta. I didn't tell you where he was. I didn't tell you who he was going for, if we should focus fire, if he's retreating. I'm just going, monkey. It's like, and
everybody sees this big ass monkey jumping onto your screen and you're just yelling it out.
Right. It's like they're doing call outs. They're getting the kill. Like there's room. Now they won. So I guess, joke's on everyone else. But just because you win doesn't mean there's not room for improvement, right? Let's dial it back. And,
they were better off just saying they're everywhere. Like one person just said that. Just shoot. They're everywhere. Just shoot.
Just shoot them. Yeah, it's always funny how you hear people make fun of NA comms because that's the epitome. And like I said, it's definitely even like more of a console thing too, for whatever reason. Because I remember when I played console games more, like that is 100% how they go. Like I remember when we played Halo. And again, they're spawn game types and very map control heavy and locking down spawns. And, okay, this weapon's going to be back up in 30 seconds. I just dropped this weapon here with one bullet, It's a lot of information. And in my brain, I felt like I nailed it. But I wonder how much, like if I went back, like none of it made any sense.
Like you're not even speaking English. You're
or like how much I didn't hear. Like I thought I heard everything, but maybe I didn't hear what call out or it's...
I would have to mute my own team in that situation. Or if I was a Halo player, I would just go become a free-for-all player. Like that.
It's what it reminds me of? It reminds me of like in PUBG in the airplane. That's what it reminds me of. Like before everyone
take out all the racist chatter. And
Yes,
yeah,
of course.
that's what
It's
it
like
sounds like.
PUBG with less N-words.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's what it reminds me of. Man, you know what? It's crazy but beautiful at the same time. Beautiful at the same time. And funny enough, we didn't play the full audio. It got even worse later. Like, it got unbearable because eventually Maven started talking, and I was like, oh my god, this is
Like,
unlistenable.
Maven was talking over him, trying to explain what's happening.
I'm just kidding. Don't kill me, Maven. All right. One last yikes of the week here, which is still in the world of Call of Duty. Call of Duty, man. Controlling yikes. This, though, is not as esports related. So, Cold War's coming out in, like, what, a couple weeks, right? Everyone's super excited for it. Zombie mode is coming back, which everyone loves. I think I'm actually going to probably play it this time around. Who knows? Maybe once. Well, there's another game mode coming out called Zombie Onslaught. It's, I think, a new mode. Never really played zombies, so don't sue me if I'm wrong here. But everyone was super excited for it. Wow, Onslaught, Zombie Onslaught, it's going to be so new. It's going to be so cool. And then they announced a Nuge. Pump the brakes there. It's going to be a PlayStation exclusive. Okay, that makes sense. You know,
Like a week or
like
what?
a month. What are we talking here? No, it's going to be a PlayStation exclusive for an entire year.
Doesn't get better than that.
Now, for those new to the scene, let me just paint the picture for you. There's a new Call of Duty that comes out every single year. So if you have a year-long exclusive on a particular game mode for your system for a year, you pretty much have an exclusive for your system for the life of that game. Maybe a 2-week window where other people will be able to play it. But
Like, as their player base is starting to dwindle down and people are playing the beta for the next game, you can go ahead and finally jump into Onslaught. A year is crazy. I mean, for Call of Duty, right? Again, if this was like a RPG or something, okay, like, sure, it sucks. That's a long time still, but so be it. For a
Yeah.
multiplayer game that has yearly releases like that, that just sucks. Because if that's something that you were interested in and wanted to try, like, you better go get a PlayStation. Because I'm assuming that game mode will be dead by the time you get your hands on it.
furthermore, just supporting everyone's bitching and moaning on PC that you just need to release these as separate downloads. Like,
Dude, having a 250 gig download just to play Warzone and an unoptimized Warzone as that is infuriating because I don't touch multiplayer anymore, right? Like, I
yeah,
quit multiplayer a few months back. I did it to level a weapon here and there, but that's really it. There's no need for it. But yeah, 250 gig download just to get into Warzone or play zombies, like, split it up, make life a little
it's
easier.
rough. It is rough. But again, if you're a PlayStation player, I guess congratulations. You will be the one and only people who get to play Zombie Onslaught.
We'll be able to download it, I'm sure, Tim.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be able to download it. So, we'll figure that out in the next Call of Duty when it comes out. All right, enough yikes of the week. Let's get into serious talk because this is a serious esports podcast, Anuj, into some CS going-ons as we have a handful of CS stuff to get to. Real quick, I can promise you none of these players mean anything to you, but there's a reason we're bringing it up. ESIC, the ESIC. Bro, if I had a gun to my head.
See, you should have just stayed with ESIC.
If I had a gun to my head and you said, say these letters without stuttering, I'd pull the trigger myself.
You said ESIC and you should have just kept
I know,
You didn't need to
I know.
explain. Assume the listener knows in that scenario. Not worth it to backtrack on that one.
ESIC. ESIC. They ended up banning. This is the governing body for esports or just Counter-Strike?
Esports Integrity Commission.
Okay. Seemed like they only handle Counter-Strike, but maybe that's just me. Anyways, they ended up banning. These are the guys who handled the big ban waves and the coaching controversy and everything for Counter-Strike. Well, it looks like their job is not done as they ended up banning 7 Australian players in the Mountain Dew League for betting-related issues, a.k.a. match fixing. So this is just a way to segue into remember when they banned people.
Well, important to note, they all got 12-month bans, right? They were betting on games that they played in. This is just the Australian side that we're getting. We are going to get an NA list eventually, and trust me, that list is going to be longer than 7 names. So it's important that, like, okay, we're starting to get this information out, right? We're
And
starting to see
bigger
it.
names. Let's be real. Australian Mountain Dew League is like Gold Nova 2 EU pubs.
Yeah, but so the only reason I feel like it's relevant is because we got 7 out of a much smaller scene,
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
much smaller scene than EU, NA, CIS, Brazil. Like Australia is one of the smallest in terms of like the big scenes, right? And so they found 7 people doing this in there, slapped them with 12-month bans. That's a whole nother topic, right? If we think that that's long enough, because that's been a ton of chatter um, around that. Honestly, like I feel like people can't have it both ways, because you got mad at Blizzard when there were lifetime bans handed out and said, "Wow, how are you
Valve.
going to ruin these people's career?" Valve handed that down. Yeah, 12 a lifetime ban essentially, to the IVP guys. And then now I'm seeing people on Twitter saying, "Oh, how are they only going to get a 12-month ban?" Like, well, look, anything really more than that, you essentially mean a
I
lifetime
think
ban.
12 months is fine.
It's long enough. I agree.
12 months is perfectly fine for a first time. Now, repeat offender, different story where, that's getting into more of a discussion for lifetime or things like that if they have to tell you multiple times. First time offenders, 12 months, like that's good. Like, good luck trying to then come back, right? Especially, again, these are Mountain Dew League guys, right? These aren't guys that you're not banning Nico.
Device.
Yeah, you're not banning Device for a year. People aren't lining up at the door to sign these guys. So if you're banning them for 12 months, it's going to take them a while to then fight through the farm systems again to get back to that level, or at
And
least
you're
have the teams.
trying to make them stay motivated for 12 months to keep playing the game at that type of, like, you have to put in the work individually then, right? Because you're not playing with the team. So like a 12-month ban is a very harsh penalty, but a deserving one.
Yeah.
I just didn't like some of the comments I was seeing, because it was like, oh, that's not long enough. Well, shit, we hated them when they were doing lifetime bans. So I feel like this is a good little like median between the two.
Yeah. That is, unless you're Forza, because you will sign these players after 12 months or even maybe before that, as they ended up signing Zoner onto their coaching staff. Zoner, Anuj, you can explain more, but he was one of the big perpetrators of the original coaching.
The biggest by far. Like when we talk about, and I don't even have, I wish I'd actually pulled the sheet up, but he's the one that did like 200 plus rounds, right? It wasn't even close. He got the longest ban out of anybody at 36 months, right? So what the ban means, again, for coaches, for guys, for people that don't understand or don't know, is just he is now banned from coaching at like events, to where he's still able, these individuals, whoever they are, who are like whichever team they want to stay on, are still able to like help be analysts, essentially, can help game plan, but they're not there on game day, right? So for Forza, this could have been in Yikes of the Week if we weren't doing like a full CS:GO segment. But it's important because it's like, in the sense, they're giving a guy that has a 36-month ban an opportunity to still coach on their staff, and he's going to be doing it for like young up and coming developmental talent. Like that's what his role is defined as, right? It's not going to be for the starting roster. It's going to be for the up and coming like group of players through their academy teams and things of that sort. So, I just feel like you're not setting the best example, by bringing him in. If it was somebody that had a 6-month ban, hell, even a 1-year ban makes a little bit more sense. But you're talking about the number one offender, like it doesn't get, much worse than that. And look, they're gonna have to deal with the heat, and it looks like they're not, really budging. Like, I mean, and that, if they want to keep him, that's fine. That's up to them. But you got to understand that that's going to come with consequences in terms of like people's outlook towards you. It's just a bad look, and so soon after, I think that's kind of the bigger problem. Is like, dude's been out of a job for roughly a month, and here he is back coaching again. It just kind of doesn't really drop the law hammer down on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of like a forgive and forget type of attitude. That's kind of my way of life. However, yeah, I do agree. Like, there's I can forgive and forget, but you kind of need to let the dust settle, right? Like, let people you need to let them forget before you can forgive, right? That's what this needs to happen. Is people almost kind of need to forget what happened, and almost like, I mean, perfect example is the iBuyPower, right? I hate to always bring those guys up, but they're just a shining I mean, it happened for so long, and every type of scenario happened with the iBuyPower boys, but it happened long enough to where you had people who did agree with the lifetime ban at first, and then as time went on, they were like, you know what? Just let him play. Like, it's
Like this is getting a little ridiculous.
yeah, it didn't affect
right?
that much. It's okay. And I feel like people would have been the same to this, right? I think people already were kind of that way, where they were like, okay, like even like when Dead from MIBR got his punishment, there were people right away who were like, ooh, some of these seem really long for the crime. I felt like if they would have just gave it a little bit more time to then announce him as part of their coaching staff, like you said, maybe in their mind, it's like, hey, look, he's banned from this. It doesn't mean we can't hire him for this. I mean, I guess it's a loophole, whatever.
I'm not saying he doesn't deserve a second chance at all, but I agree with you. Like more time definitely needed to pass. I also think there were other options, right? In the sense of other people that have been banned for much shorter durations.
Yeah.
Like those are the people that we're looking at more from the second chance perspective, not the guy that cheated his ass off, in basically every match that he was involved in, over a couple year span. So,
Well, it's like one of those things where you're like, well, I mean, look at his coaching record. Well, yeah, but that entire record is tainted at this point. Like,
yeah,
there's not much to go
like
off of.
you can't sit there and be like, oh, well, we're basing this on his history. Well, his history shows that he cheated in every match that he
Right.
was in. Like, no shit, he looked like a genius coach. He knew where they were coming from every time. So, yeah, a bad look for sure. But hey, that's on them to deal with. I know they're not going to get much love from the community on that move.
No. Then you did have DreamHack Open Fall Finals wrap up over this weekend. Look, this happens once in a while where you get these teams and you're like, wow, this looks like a really amazing lineup. And then you get Heroic and Team Vitality in the finals. And I know I'm supposed to believe that Heroic is this like top 5 team in the world. I know I'm supposed to believe that. I don't. I see the paper. I see the stats. I see that they're performing well. Am I alone here to think like eventually the bottom has to fall out for Heroic?
I think
like what's changed?
Okay,
what's
so
changed
I get where you're coming from and why you feel that way. Mostly because it's the online era, right? Like we didn't see this on LAN.
This roster has been together since April of this year.
It's COVID lineup, right? Like they officially got all 5 of these guys together right around the start of COVID. And so we haven't seen it on LAN right now. A lot of the other teams that are sitting there around them, Astralis, Furia, Vitality, Navi, Evil Geniuses, these guys we've seen perform on the biggest stages prior to COVID hitting. So when they're ranked that high, you don't really question it. However, Heroic have really proven themselves in my eyes. Like these guys, it's not like they're just winning, like one-off tournaments here and there. They're like winning big time events. They're beating, this tournament matters because of RMR points. It matters for ESL pro points, right? It's not just like another tournament that we see in Counter-Strike.
And with the teams that were here, this is pretty much a European major.
Yeah, for sure.
It has everyone in it minus Navi.
No, it really did. Like this was overall this was a really quality event because of, again, you had your Astralis, right? That they're kind of doing this again, and we're seeing them ramp back up. So they're playing well. FaZe just came off an event where they're playing well. Vitality has looked good for a long period of time. So to think about the move Heroic made. So the way this tournament worked, Tim, is if you were top 2 out of your bracket, there's four brackets, 4 teams in each bracket. If you were first or second, you started off in upper bracket going into the playoffs. If you were third, you started off in the lower bracket. What's more impressive here is Heroic did this as a losers bracket run from bracket like round 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like they had that chance to really slip up. Granted, they beat North in the first game. North hasn't looked particularly good. Sprout a little bit more of another kind of gimme in that sense. Big, we've seen play really well during the LAN era. I think we can both agree we never looked at them as a number 1 team, but we could both also say like, okay, well, during the online era, they played really well.
During online, which is what we're going off of.
So this is 2 teams that have been performing well in the online era. But let's fast forward a little bit, right? You get to the semifinals. They play Astralis. They beat Astralis 2-1, and I think anybody can agree Astralis is playing some incredible CS right now. They're looking dominant kind of once again. We just talked about them. If they were in a major, would we bet them or the field? And we both, I think, said like, yeah, I would feel pretty confident taking Astralis in any huge event at the moment. So they 2-1 them, one of the games going into overtime. And then Vitality. Like Vitality is another team that's just been consistently good, and at least recently, right? They've really come back. Vitality also beat Astralis in the prior round to knock them into losers. So I think what Heroic is doing is just a team that I think will show up when LAN comes around, but maybe not at like a number 1 or 2 level, but they'll be super competitive. They will stay easily in the top 10. And again, Cadian is one of those guys that I think a lot of people are going to back and root for just because, he had that message of the whole Fun Plus Phoenix situation going awry right before COVID hit, and these guys trying to find a home somewhere. And so it's an easy team to root for.
Cadian's awkward, shirtless, walking down the street message.
Hey, better than Splice's owner in the woods.
There's been a number of awkward esports. Like, this is the moment I'm deciding to record this.
If you want to see the best spray of the year, go watch Tessis's 4K on Mirage. Cleanest 4K spray transfer I have seen, because he was hitting people on all different elevations. And Tim, we've played enough CS to where we know when you're spraying with that AK and you're trying to cover an area basically as wide as your monitor, that takes some pure talent. He unloaded a full clip and every bullet went exactly where he wanted it to go. I mean, it was absolutely incredible. Those guys were on fire. What was cool is this was a true BO5. So for those people that were complaining at the last event where the winning team came in with the +1 essentially into the finals, this was a true BO5, and it went the distance. And Heroic had a different guy top frag every single map. So I mean,
it went
all
the
of
distance,
these,
and Overpass and Nuke both went to overtime.
Yeah. I mean, it was, again, I mean, I think for Heroic, you just got to be proud with what they've accomplished, even if it is online. Like I would take this and feel really good because you're showing consistency. It's not like you won one online event and your ranking really just spiked up there. Like you were number 2 before this event happened. There's a chance we see them back in first place after next week's rankings. They were only like 30, 40 points behind Astralis. So, and they just beat them in the semis. So there's a chance that they overtake them, and we see Heroic sitting at the top of the list, which would have the return of Zipnix back onto the Astralis's lineup. And, it's interesting. Like they're keeping it, Heroic's kind of a nice little fresh flavor on the EU side. And look, it's just another good EU team at the end of the day. Like that's just another team NA is going to have to worry about now.
And now we'll finally have a chance to worry about them, though, Nuge, because with Blast Premier Fall 2020 regular season starting tomorrow, we have since, what, Katowice? maybe.
You know,
Katowice might have been one of the
like,
last international events that we've had this year before COVID forced everyone to
yeah,
stop
because
traveling.
Katowice was in the empty stadium, but the
Right.
players were there.
Yes. Yeah. Players were there. It was LAN, empty stadium, sad picture of Pasha.
Yep.
I remember this. But that's, to my knowledge, just thinking off the top of my head, it's got to be like one of the last LAN, let alone international tournaments.
Definitely the last big event we saw.
Yes. Well, now we've had some North American teams fly over to EU, putting Counter-Strike on their backs, saying, you know what, EU, if you guys can't carry the load, we'll show up, we'll save the day. So, God bless the red, white, and blue, because we came through, and Brazil. Because Furia and Evil Geniuses ended up flying out there, and they will be in this tournament. Now, it's still online. Don't get your hopes up too much. Like, it is still going to be an online tournament. But we will finally see Evil Geniuses and Furia, two teams that have been destroying the NA side. I would say
Dominating.
consistent level. These two teams, and throw in Liquid, but they're not in EU at the moment, have been just cashing in. Furia, number 1 for the Players Association ranking. As funny as that sounds, a team that's hasn't played EU in 7 months is number 1 in the world. Okay, sure. I'll buy it. Why not? So now we do finally have those teams here. Man, I am looking forward to seeing how that carries over, right? You have spent 7 months not only just playing in real matches against NA teams, but even scrims. Like, all you've had in the last 7 months for Counter-Strike is NA skill. And when you are the top 2 teams, like, it's only a drop off from there. So I am curious to see, and almost a little nervous when they start playing this EU talent again. Are we all just going to look like MIBR?
Like, you bet they're probably scrimming pretty hard right now. I think that's probably the bigger benefit, is the opportunity to get to scrim against EU while you're over there. So I'm gonna assume they will be well prepared going into the Blast Premier series here, just because it's not going to be like they're walking in cold, right, and just playing NA talent. They're going to be scrimming this whole week leading up to it, and it should be good to go. And I'm excited for what we're going to see, Tim. And I'm going to tie this into another bullet point that we have here, because we do have Furia up first against G2. And this has the potential to be a new G2 look. One that I think, not a lot of people saw coming until it started surfacing just a few weeks ago, right? It's not like people were talking about it, but that would be FaZe Nico moving over to G2 to join his cousin. This would be in place of Amanek. G2 has been struggling slightly at the start of COVID. They were one of the teams that was on fire, made it to 3 grand finals, lost all 3 of them, I believe, but made it to 3 finals events. And then since then have slipped off, including just this past week here at DreamHack Open. And so you do have FaZe in the event also. So they'll have to find a replacement for Nico. But I think Furia G2 definitely highlights my round 1 excitement. I know we do have Evil Geniuses here as well. They're playing against OG. I honestly expect them to win that matchup. Like, I feel like they should take that. Otherwise, that's going to be a bad look for NA early on, right?
Yeah,
Like,
that's probably
OG
like the easiest one you have as an NA team going in.
Yeah, like,
one of the easier ones to go into is OG.
You might want FaZe, right? That might be another easy matchup depending on who they fill in.
If it does happen. So yeah, and here's the thing. It's like, obviously it seems like it's going to happen. If it's going to happen, by the time this episode even makes it out into the public ears, as far as if you listen to the podcast, not live, I mean, they're playing on the 20... What's FaZe's first match? I think on the 29th? The 29th. So in 4 days from recording. So, I mean, it's going to have to happen relatively soon, if not the moment we stop recording, because that's how this works out.
Yeah. And like I said, all accounts and everything that we're reading and seeing online showing that it's bound to happen, right? So I think that's an exciting move for...
Obviously, and we've talked about it a little bit, obviously this hurts FaZe. If you're losing Nico, I don't think in the short term, I think this is going to hurt FaZe more, right? Obviously, if you're getting a player like Nico, you would think that you're going to be better with G2. But do you think for Nico, this is going to work out and still make a difference?
Yeah, because he's gonna have to take a back seat a little bit. He's not gonna be the star player in the sense of name wise. That's Kenny S's team. I think they still rely on him, although he's not their best player anymore. I think Kenny S is the leader of that team. I don't think Nico carried that burden well, of being the leader of FaZe. Um, it's a big reason why they went and got Coldzera, right? Like, very few people are bigger personalities in the scene, um, other than Nico, right? I think Cold would be one of those people at the time. And whether it was communication, you know, cockiness, whatever was going on there, it didn't work. I think going on to G2, Nico is still going to be one of the, if not the best players on the team, but he's going in as a player. He's not going into IGL. He's going to have a fantastic opper, covering angles for him. His playing with his cousin. So you want to talk about excitement? Like, if I got to play, I'm just thinking of my favorite cousin in my head. If I got to play professionally with him or work with him, even just in a normal job, like how happy that would make me. Like, that would be really exciting for me, because me and my cousin are like very, very close, and so it, assuming they're really close, I'm going to assume they are. They both play Counter Strike professionally. Like, they've got to
I
be
assume
incredibly
their
close.
paths
Yeah,
have
like,
crossed.
that's going to be a really exciting thing for him. Like, I think you could see him elevate his game just because of like the attitude and the team that he's walking into. And look, Hunter's been performing out of his mind. This is a guy that has really carried, posted a 1.10 rating basically the last 3 months. Like, he's just been playing really well. So I'm excited for the G2 roster. I think this elevates them, in the sense of they're already number 11. I think we're talking like top 5 consistently, for that lineup. So when I say elevate, I'm not saying, oh yeah, now they're top 10. Like, that's not much of a move. If that's all it does, this was a bad move for Carlos R, because there's a lot of money probably being swapped around here. But
Well,
I think this
especially
makes
now
them a
because
consistent top 5 team.
FaZe is just coming off a win, right? With the New York the IM New York.
A loss now.
A loss now,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, but yeah.
But they've recently won one. Right?
Yeah.
Now between that and their last win, it's been a while. But I think, like I said, I think this will help G2. How much will the end results change in the sense of Nico ever winning a major? That's still too early to tell, obviously. I'm not a huge believer in it, but that's also because it's just, I feel like Nico's time on FaZe, for me, in my eyes, was somewhat of a bust. Like, they went to the major in Boston, and they've had so much hype from that. It's just they've never really panned out. Like, people gotta remember, when this FaZe clan got together, I mean, they were supposed to be like the
It was an all-star
Astralis killer.
team.
Like, you had every power team. Like, this was supposed to be the Miami Heat.
You had Guardian, you had Olaf, you had Nico, you had Kerrigan. Like, you had a star-studded lineup, for that Boston major. Nico carried his weight during that time. I think we're really talking about, now it's been a long time, but like the last year, he has fallen off, right? So sometimes it just takes, like, we saw that with Skadoodle. Right now, I know playing a different position, but in the sense of like, Skadoodle had that dip, and then all of a sudden you kind of saw him like rise back up, and it felt like it came out of nowhere before his retirement. I think Nico is in a better position than that, in the sense that still got a lot left in the tank, because he's still playing really well. I mean, he posted the 3rd highest rating at DreamHack Open. He was at a 1.2 rating for the event. I think this makes G2 definitely a contender, going into the major, where they were going to be a contender before, but now you look at them with a different level of fear. Like, this is a team that they have a couple of guys that can pop off now, and that makes you dangerous when you're not just relying on like 1 or 2 people, but now you have like 3, maybe even 4 at any given time that can carry a workload, and so it's gonna make everybody's job easier around him too. It's not just Nico benefiting from this. Like those guys' jobs just got a lot easier with somebody as talented as him. So I'm hoping, Tim, we do see it in this event, because what a great event to have that storyline added into the mix, right? We're already excited for the NAEU clash. And now you have a G2 roster who is going to have everybody pumped up. I mean, I think a lot of people are like either G2 fans, but they're not really like haters of G2, in the sense like they're a likable organization, right? Like their ownership is likable, their teams represent their countries well, like they don't run into drama issues. Like they're a likable
Yeah.
organization, I feel. And so I do see a lot of people kind of jumping onto this G2 bandwagon going forward, and rooting for them. Where for FaZe, look, this is a disaster. This is truly a disaster, because you brought in KRB, who's probably going to take Nico's place in terms of positioning, because he was playing out of place previously. But I just don't know how that roster is going to mesh going forward. They had a tough time finding a stable fourth and fifth for a long time. Now you take out the top dog from the team, and you're going to have to fill that void with an up and comer potentially. I mean, maybe you get another star player, but um, they're going to be in a tough spot. Like I see them potentially even like looking to make other moves in either rebuild or I think they're gonna have to hit the reset button ultimately. Like I think that's what that's gonna come down to.
Yeah, like I said, so we'll find out sooner rather than later, because if it is going to happen, which everyone was saying that this was the last time for DreamHack, right? This was going to be the last time we saw Nico play with FaZe. It's going to have to happen like within the next 48 hours. So we'll find out.
Can I give you my wild card here?
Yeah, go for it.
We're gonna see coldzera jump ship at some point and go group back up with the Brazilian boys now that they're all free agents. Either
Yeah,
starting their own org or like doing something like getting back together. But
I could see that. I could see that easily happen, just with especially how that Brazilian, because it hasn't worked out. Again, it hasn't worked out on FaZe, right?
It hasn't worked out for either side.
Right.
MIBR obviously not a roster anymore, or coldzera on FaZe.
Yep.
Like both of them have not found success leaving each other.
So if there's not any bad blood between Fallen and Cold, right? Which when that team when he originally left MIBR, there was kind of talks of that, as Fallen and Cold were butting heads more often than not, and that was part of the reason for the departure. So if that's settled down, I could easily see this happening. Cold wanting to go back home, or when things get back to normal anyways, things like that. I could easily see that happening. So again, Cold is one of those guys where I say the same thing with Nico. They're in a weird spot where it's like almost any move that they do, you almost don't see it working out for them until it just finally does, right? Because it's like this G2 roster wasn't like an outstanding thing. It's like I thought they were kind of inconsistent. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully Nico comes in, kind of levels that out. At least you have that confidence player with Nico, to where it's like in clutch situations, things like that, you have someone like that. So, which I felt like G2 didn't really have before. Like Kenny S, when Kenny S is on, he's the best offer in the world. But he just isn't on as much as he used to be.
So the reason I feel like a little bit more confident is when they brought in Nexa and Hunter, those two guys kind of took that burden away from Kenny S, because they became essentially the best, most consistent players on that team. And then you were just hoping for Kenny S to pop off in between and really like elevate your team in those tournaments when he was on. So look, I mean, there's players on the team now prior to Nico joining that are better than Kenny S. And I think this is going to be a deadly 4-man group here, and they're going to have an opportunity to really do something. So, I agree. Like, we can't throw all of our cards. I'm not going all in on them just yet, but they show just as much potential as anybody else, I would say, in the top 5 right now to be the best team at the end of the year.
And one last note of Counter-Strike to get to here is the fact that Cloud9 has officially terminated contracts of JT, Mountain, Sonic, and TC for violating COVID contract violations. Now, this is from what I understand, all of their second no-nos. So they've 2 times now have allowed unauthorized people within the team house.
You think Floppy was there?
This is where I've heard mixed, like Twitter's all over on this, right? Where some people are saying, well, this is just a way of Cloud9 to cut their contracts early. Some people are saying that they did it on purpose because they wanted their contracts cut early. Long story short, this is kind of a non-story because the players are already off the team mentally.
Yeah.
So
not mentally, they were physically off the team, and like in the sense that they were not going to ever play under that banner.
They were just keeping the seats warm until the normal guys got there.
Like for me, this is a Cloud9 move to cut, like to save money here. Well, what are you doing paying these guys, right? You have no need for them. They're not doing anything for you. They're not making content. They're not doing anything for you. So if you have an out, you take it, especially with the money that they're spending, right? They're spending a lot of money on this current roster. For those guys, if they did it intentionally, like it's a little bit of a stupid move because you're getting a paycheck and you're looking for a team now. Like where are they going to end up ultimately is the question, right? Like these seem like a lot of people that are going to find their way back into MDL, or like I just don't see any of them joining there's not many options again in NA. We've said this 1,000 times. Sonic has said he's staying in NA instead of going back home, and that's probably the right move. I just don't know where you're gonna where is there a spot for you right now that's realistic. So I think we see all 4 of these guys in MDL next year.
Yeah, and like I said, some people are saying that that's why, right? Like they want to kind of start looking for their own way. So it's like, hey, let's just get out of the contracts and do it that way. So either way, doesn't really matter. I don't think you will ever hear of any of these guys for a long, long time on the top CSGO tier anyways. So best of luck to them. That's all I have to say on that. Let's get into some e-news, though, to finish up the show. A little bit to get to here. In Overwatch, Dallas Fuel announced a few signings, new coach, Paris Eternal's old coach, things like that. Big thing here is that they are now, to fill in gaps within the roster, pretty much their bench players, Anuj. They are holding open tryouts to fill in the roster. You want to try out?
I do.
Do you know Korean?
Yoboseo. That means hello in Korean.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Well, you've instantly impressed me. Because that is part of their requirements. Like, everyone gets excited, and then it was like, in the tweet, they were like, must meet all requirements, and then you click the tweet, and the first thing was like, must be fluent in Korean. I was like, okay, well, we're out of here. Like
how much, can you know them pretty well out there, right? So why don't you email them how much Korean do I need to know? Like one word?
Like call outs?
Will that get me by?
Do all I need to know are call outs? Because I could do that. Monkey, 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 right? I got that. So I don't know. We'll see. Obviously, Fuel going more of the Korean route, if that's what they're doing, right? Is asking for tryouts, but you also must be fluent in Korean. Not going with the bilingual roster, as that has not worked out in the past. In Valorant news, Anbox has finalized some rosters with Boy previously a stand-in for Complexity.
Yeah, and he was just in the last event with them that they won, so makes sense to bring him on. You go undefeated in the last tournament, it would see no reason to go searching elsewhere for somebody. So
don't fix what ain't broke.
Up, and it's nice that they got a full roster now, so they're good to go.
Now, Cloud9 has announced a new Valorant roster signing.
I thought they already did that, Tim.
Twice, actually. They have announced 2 rosters. For those keeping score at home, this is their 3rd Valorant roster. They have announced C9 White, a all-female roster. So
Like that is the number one female team right now in Valorant, and if the scene takes off for the female side in Valorant, then it's a hell of a pickup, right? For Cloud9, I see what they're doing though. I mean, it makes sense, right? You have one of the best Korean teams, and you're playing yourself for possibly a slot over there when Riot steps in. Same thing on the NA side; they have one of the best NA teams currently, um, currently playing. And now you've signed the number one all female team. I don't know how big the Valorant female scene is. Like, I don't. If we're comparing it to CS, I'm going to assume it's smaller because CS's female scene is quite large now, right? Like, they have tournaments, and obviously it's not as big as the men's side.
What's your definition of large?
Huh?
What's your definition of a large?
Well, look, if you can host tournaments, that's big enough, right? Like, if you have the ability to host tournaments and there's some sort of open tournament, like, it doesn't need to be as big as the men's side, right? Like, if we're going to compare it to that, then it's not a fair comparison. But if you're going to pick up a female team and you're going to compete, like, hey, you got the number one team. So more publicity for them. It's a good look. Also, it might intrigue other orgs into doing it. But look, at the end of the day, like, it's a different league. So you just compare them for like what they are competing in.
Like I said, I think the lead here is not even the fact that they're all females. The lead story in this is the fact that Cloud9 is paying salaries on 3 full Valorant rosters.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
That's the crazy part.
Like 6 months after game release?
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
That is, as the kids say, commitment. That is putting all your fish.
At the end of the day, Tim, if anyone knows Riot's future plans, it's going to be somebody like Cloud9, right? You have a team in League of Legends. You're one of the biggest organizations, so chances are you get information that you're privy to that most others, including us, would not be. So this is showing a lot of faith in Riot, and I think that's a good thing for us, the people that are covering esports, because they know where this is headed. They see which direction the train is going, and they're all in on it. And so it gets me excited for different reasons.
Speaking of League of Legends, we have the finals for Worlds. The stage is set. No, it is not G2 versus Top. It is Damwon versus Suning. I will say congratulations to new father Kevin, friend of the show, because he actually had those predicted to be in the finals at the beginning of everything. Yeah, no, he really did. And our Discord actually kind of made fun of him for it, but he said crazier things have happened. So sure enough, props to that. Go figure, when I finally actually picked G2 to win, they pull the biggest G2 ever and lose.
They got smacked. I mean,
that's all that they needed, was for me to believe in them. They needed to lose.
I think that game 3 was like 18 minutes, like one of the fastest games ever. So it's a tough way to go out for G2, but hey, they still made top 4. Like, that's awesome.
Still pretty good. Jerkson retires as a player for TSM and moves over into being the coach for the team. So obviously that is sparking all the rumors flying around with their roster being in crumbles and whatnot. Look, again, I'm not going to pretend that I know the League of Legends scene. Not going to pretend. I know the big dogs and everything like that. The amount of hate that flows around this TSM team, I don't think I've seen anything. I mean, it is like MIBR level, where it's just like people love to see them suffer.
You either love it, if you're a fan of them, you're a diehard.
Yeah.
And if you hate them, you like truly hate them, like you would hate the Yankees, Lakers, Cowboys, any of that stuff, right? And so, but talk about a smooth transition, right? If you're leaving one post and now you're headed over into a coaching role, staying with the org, like, I think it's a cool move that he's staying involved, because for the NA side, like, we're losing a legend, like truly a legend. When this is breaking news during the World Series on the header, like, we're losing somebody big. And so it is neat to see him. Like, I think it's any person's dream in that sense to, like, if you're going to retire and you're looking to stay involved and you go straight from player into like coaching that team, like that's pretty neat. So.
And in other news, the International Esports Federation has added 6 members, making their total a whopping 88. And let me tell you, folks, what a powerhouse 6 members. I mean, the leading countries in esports have now been added. We're talking Congo, Morocco, Malta, Kuwait, Pakistan, and Turkmenistan.
Sounds about right.
Literally have never even heard of that country until moments ago.
Like, who did they call to like add them to this roster? Like, they called the president of the country, or like who are they talking to be like, we just added this whole country?
You know what's funny is I looked at the their website to see like, all right, well, who are the other 82 countries? And like, you know, like every country's on there. USA, Germany, UK, all of them, right? Great Britain, whatever. And I thought the same thing. I'm like, who in the USA did you call? Like, what 800 number do you call and then ask to be transferred to the head of esports for USA to then be formally accepted into the Esports Federation? This all sounds like no reg CSGO to me. Like it's just one big made up org.
Just adding countries left and right.
Yeah, they're just adding countries. Like, yep, we got you guys. And then like the USA is like, whoa.
I did look up Turkmenistan for you. It is north of Iran and Afghanistan.
And I will also say this. I looked them up too. They have some badass looking statues.
Yeah, like the horses and stuff.
Yeah, like everything's gold. This place
looks like there's some oil rolling around there.
This place looks like it's made of money. It also looks like a place that might cut your hand off if you do something wrong, though.
Chances are women are probably not voting there yet.
Yeah, I can.
If I had to guess.
If I had to guess, they did not call a woman to ask if they wanted to be in the Federation. If I had to guess. Maybe not. Maybe not. Sorry if we offended any of our Turkmenistan listeners. So, anyways, that will do it for this episode of the Center Ring Esports Podcast, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, presented by Alt. 283 is done. It's in the books. Thank you so much for listening. Stopping by chat on stream if you're here. Thank you. Love you. We will be back Wednesday night again for our monthly Ask Us Anything. If you have any questions, whether it be personal, sports, esports, whatever, hit us up in chat, Discord, DMs, messages, whatever. You get us the question, we will get you the answer on our next show. I already have a handful to get to, so very much appreciated. Got a lot of esports documentary suggestions. We will pick one and do that possibly next show. No, not next show, because we always like to give people a heads up. Maybe next week. So we'll figure that out. But ask us anything. That's the big important thing there. Follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. And join our Discord to be a part of that conversation. But until next time, for Anuj, I'm Tim. Love you. See you. Bye.